Moving on to, I sort of just did a data table here to kind of show the trade-off between, or how much value is being created based on my assumptions about COGS as a percentage of sales in year 5, as well as SG&A as a percentage of sales. So pretty big driver of value, so we want to make sure that we would be comfortable with that. Again, the point I made to class, we can't really tell it from the case, but it would be good to look at this and say, okay, realistically, what do we have here? Does this make sense? So, you'd want to sharpen your pencil on these COGS savings and these SG&A before you kind of started making bids, because this clearly makes a big difference in the value. Part of what has to be considered here is the fact that there's already been a couple offers made for Monmouth in the market. And again, that's when I said before that $19 per share pre-merger, yeah, that's before these bids and things like that. So my point is clearly others are interested in this and interested at a much higher price. So we'll talk a little bit about this, but this is probably a better way to think about what the pre-offer value is, at least for Monmouth. So Simmons has already offered $42 a share. They got 133 of the 584,000 shares that were tendered, but it wasn't enough to get controlling interest. So Robertson, if they were to be purchased by Simmons, would be less 1/6 of the sales of the continuing company. Appears that they would just be another operating division and could lead to aggressive cost-cutting, elimination of product lines. Now, the point I make to class is, you know what, based on the way they're valued and their base value, and the fact that the value is much higher than their base value, this might be on the way anyway. But at least at this point, they seem to bristle a little bit at that kind of prospect. But I would argue the kind of assumptions we're making to get to $55 or $73 a share assumes cost cutting and potentially elimination of product lines. The deal with Simmons for the rest seems unlikely, at least from their offer, because they only got 133,000. Maybe it's just not high enough. NDP offered 5 shares for 1 share of Robertson. It equates to about $53 a share, although we have to be a little skeptical because recently it traded as low as 4.6, which would only equate to $23 a share. NDP pays no dividend. NDP is broadly diversified with major interests in publishing. It would offer operating independence. So NDP kind of it's got some good things, it's got some not so good things, but it just doesn't seem like maybe their offer is seen, although it's higher and it's $53 a share, maybe some people don't like the value of it. Now, the reality is you could if you got $53 a share, you could always short the stock and then lock in your value. But for whatever reason, they don't seem to be as interested in this. The one positive NDP is they are going to let them maybe, there's a good chance they would get autonomy and operating independence, which seems to be valued by the family and insider shareholders at Robertson. So Monmouth's acquisition ensures that Robertson and family would stay involved. Looks like people value their shares more than they do NDP. Simmons says they would support an offer with at least $50 a share. Does not like the NDP stock offer. The support of if the Monmouth made an offer, they would get the support of the Robertson family and Simmons, and that would give them 50.3% ownership. Robertson closed at $44 a share. So it looks like if the management didn't mind the offer of $53 a share, but it was less liquid, maybe they would be willing to settle for a lower amount from Monmouth potentially. So there's really no right answer on the offer that you would make. I'm more interested, frankly, in based on the offer that you had, would you be able to generate value based on this? So the value of the offer, if I take 55 times 0.584, I get about $32 million a share. The estimated value currently, based on our base value, is 11. So that would give them a premium of 21.1. Now, it's a big premium over the base value, but you might want to think of more like the premium over this. So I don't care which one they do, but there's definitely been a premium here. We have to recognize that there are synergies, right? And what's happening is we are giving them in this premium $21.1 million of the synergy that we calculated, which I think was about $32 million. And we would essentially get what's left over, which is the deal NPV of about 10.8. So the good news on this is it looks like we're generating value with the positive deal NPV. They're getting a healthy premium. And so, again, I would like them to go through this sort of a process. If you notice in my questions, I say, okay, realistically given other offers, what would you have to offer to gain control? They should just put their offer inland to the other ones. I mean, some people could argue you could do less than 53 because that's not as good of a offer from their in shares and not as respected as Monmouth, so that might make a difference. I just put in 55, but again, that doesn't necessarily connote the right answer. I do want them to go ahead and try to get a deal NPV though, so I would appreciate it if they, made some sort of a deal NPV type of calculation. FYI, I had the whole class do this, so there is going to be sort of an upload to a grade. Just give them 10 points for trying. It's not a big deal, but I wanted them to all kind of try this. So it looks like on the surface, this is a win-win. Obviously, I kind of made assumptions to sort of make it work out this way. For what it's worth. Now, I do talk a little bit about dilution here in these later parts of the slides. I also talk a little bit about market multiples. I wasn't expecting that from these guys, so as far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't worry about it. I just was kind of taking a look to sort of see what this might look like. But in the end, I think we have a pretty good we have some pretty good basis for discussion. So again, there's a few calculation things that they definitely should get right. Probably the valuation at this point, they should be doing reasonably well. I'm guessing you might end up taking off a point on average from people. But, again, I think they should do reasonably well in this. Some of the explanations, if they don't have to name all of these different explanations, but if they can at least sort of touch on some of them, especially like synergies and how that realistic they are, things like that. So, other than that, I think this should not be too bad of a case to grade, I wouldn't think. And I would suspect that they'll do reasonably well. And again, sort of assume that this is the last page of the case. I don't expect that they got into this stuff here. Part of it was I just didn't feel like I had time to set up the discussion right. So I will be in touch. Thank you.